before I continue? Fantastic, because we don't want to lose anything, okay? So elicitation is where you set up all these sessions, your workshops, your focus group sessions, to get the right type of answers that you need to what? Come up with the right solution for that business to make that process more efficient. You manage and work with a lot of stakeholders, both internal and external. So how do you manage your stakeholders? How do you analyze stakeholders to know the stakeholders based on their ranking? Who has the most influence? How do I communicate with my stakeholders? And finally, AI for what? Business analysis. You can't do anything in the tech ecosystem today without an appreciation for what? AI. So you learn ChatGPT for business analysis, all right? Managing your projects, you're going to learn how to use Jira to track project deliverables and Trello to also collaborate and track project tasks and activities. You learn how to use Confluence for collaboration, and of course, ChatGPT, like I mentioned, for AI, for business analysis. So these are the skills you need to learn to become a business analyst. And how long does it take? 4 months. Remember, the 3 criteria I mentioned earlier, one of them is you are learning a career path that does not require you to go back to the university for another 1 year, 2 years, and so on. You can learn the skill in the space of 4 months, learn for 2 months in class, working on project-based, working in a project-based environment, learning all the principles involved in business analysis, how to create a business requirement document, how to write user stories, how to come up with a business case, and so on and so forth. And then you spend another 2 months during your internship working on a real-world end-to-end project where you work for a company called Blue Sea Technology. Blue Sea Technology currently has a problem with their HR department. Their processes are manual. When people want to go on leave, they have to write emails to HR. HR has to confirm from their line managers. Line managers would have to respond by saying, I approve or I don't approve. So it's very manual. So you as a business analyst, you'd work with a Scrum Master, you'd work with a software developer, and you come up with a solution that is automated to streamline the process within that HR department. So when you attend an interview, you find yourself in front of an interviewing panel and they ask you questions that are competency-based. Tell me about a time you have optimized a process and the type of stakeholders you worked with. Okay, so this is not a question that involves you reading anything, reading any book. No amount of reading can help you answer that question. Okay, you need to have done the job before. And this is where working on end-to-end projects helps you gain that experience that would help you communicate effectively during interviews. Okay, and your classes are Saturdays and Sundays. So you have a live class on Saturday, a live class on Sunday, where you have a trainer who would work with you. You work on projects together every Saturday, depending on where you're joining. So it doesn't matter. There's a class that fits your time zone. You're joining from the UK, you're joining from somewhere in West Africa, similar time zones. On Saturdays, your classes are 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay, if you're joining from Canada, you're joining from the US, similar time zones, your class begins 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right, so now imagine that you're in the UK, for example, and 11 to 2 p.m. your time, you are busy, you really can't join in the morning. You can join the guys in Canada, you can join the guys in the US later in the day, which in the UK time would be 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can join that time and you still have an amazing class. So you have a class that fits your time zone. It doesn't matter where you are. And on Sundays, if you're in the UK, you're somewhere in Africa, your class begins 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And if you're in Canada, you're in the US, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And this is the business analyst role. And this is what it takes to be a business analyst. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like I'm describing product management. So one way or the other, because you'll be managing projects that involves building of product and applications, you'll definitely talk about things like the software development lifecycle. That's the same, in product management and so on. Chukwudi is saying that. All right. Now, let's get into the next level of the roles we'll be looking at today. We've looked at the business analyst, and this is what it takes. Take a screenshot. If you ever want to become a business analyst, these are the things you need to learn. And lastly, before I leave this particular slide, it's important for you to know that what the data analytics skill does for you, learning Excel, Power BI, and SQL, means you can apply to jobs like the business data analyst role. Okay, the business data analyst role is a very popular role across different regions. So you're a business analyst that does a little bit of data analytics related activities as part of what you do. Okay, so the market keeps on, requiring different skills and so on from you. And it's important that you must stay abreast with what the market demands. And this is what makes you competitive, getting the jobs out there. Now we're going to move to the next level, which is the data analyst, the data scientist, and the data engineer. A lot of people also confuse them, okay? A lot of people also ask, is there a difference between the business analyst and the data analyst? At the end of today's session, you know there's a difference. The business analyst focuses on what? Processes. Business analyst focuses on processes. Now, we're going to look at 3 roles that are data related: the data analyst, the data scientist, and the data engineer. But I'm going to start with the data engineer. Why? Because the data engineer, let's call the data engineer DE. The data engineer is who? The provider of data. The provider of what? Data. Always remember, the data engineer provides the data. The data analyst analyzes. The data scientist analyzes. But who provides the data before they can analyze? The data engineer. So let's take a very quick scenario. The banking industry, you have different sources of data generated across the business, okay? You have the POS, you have the ATMs, you have the web applications. I always like to use this example because everybody can relate easily to all these, to this particular scenario, because you all have bank accounts, right? So you interact, you tap your card, you pay for the items you buy in the store using the POS, right? You go to the ATMs to withdraw money. You also use the web to do what? Carry out transactions, or your mobile application on your phone to carry out transactions. Now, all the transactions across these different, sources are stored in a database somewhere. Okay, so the POS has a POS database, the ATM has an ATM database, the web application has a database as well. But the question is, if I need to analyze to see what's the maximum transaction we had this month, how many transactions were executed across the 3 major platforms across the business itself, as a data analyst, how do I do that? I can't go directly to the POS to get that data, or to the ATM, or to the web. The data engineer would create data pipelines. Pipelines from the POS, create pipelines from the ATM, create pipelines from the web application, and any other system that generates data, and moves that data into a central location called the data warehouse. So the data is moved from across the different regions into a central location that is easy to access, called the data warehouse. The data analysts and the data scientists can then go into this data warehouse to get the data that they need for analysis. So the data analyst and the data scientist cannot do their jobs yet until the data engineer makes that data available. And that's why I said the data engineer is the provider of data. So they use Python, they use SQL, they use Linux to create ETL pipelines. ETL pipelines that moves data from where the data is generated to where the data should be for easy access to the stakeholders within that business. All right, so that's the data engineer in summary. Now, the data analysts and the data scientists, let's talk about them very quickly. You have the data analysts, and then you have the data scientists. Now, remember that the data engineer has made the data available. So these two can do their jobs now, right? The data analyst and the data scientist have some things in common. Number one is they carry out something called descriptive analytics. And forget about the big words. I'll explain it, I'll break it down. Descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics is the foundation of analytics. And this is where you answer the question of what happened. And every organization wants to know what happened in our business. Secondly, the data analysts and the data scientists also carry out something called diagnostic analytics. Okay, and let's break it down a little bit further. So once you know what happened, the next step is why did it happen? For example, let's assume we work for Netflix, and Netflix always wants to, acquire customers and retain their customers. They don't want customers to unsubscribe. I started subscribing to Netflix in 2020, and I've never looked back since then. Sometimes I don't even watch any show for over a month, but my subscription still goes on because of I see recommendations that I'm always interested in. So Netflix spend a lot of time ensuring that customers don't leave the platform. So tracking the number of customers they are also able to gain or acquire every single month is very important to them. So January, February, March, April, May, let's say they track the new customers they get onto the platform. And let's just use arbitrary numbers. So let's say we want to know what happened with regards to our customers over the last 5 months. The data analysts, the data scientists will go into the database, the data warehouse, where the data engineer has made the data available, get that data, analyze the data to see what happened. So in January, we were able to get 500 customers. In February, it moved to 1,000 customers. March, it dropped to 700 customers. In April, it moved again to 1,000 customers. And in May, it dropped to 400 customers. So this is what happened. The analysis of this is called descriptive analytics. What happened? So we see from January till May. In January, we had 500 customers. In February, it increased to 1,000 customers. That is what happened. Every business wants to know, why did this happen? Why did we have an increase from 500 in January to 1,000 in February? So you need to dive deeper into the data to start answering the question, why did it happen? When you've seen what happened, the next question is what? Why did it happen? And that's diagnostic analytics, diving deeper to see why what happened actually happened in the business. So in January, we had 500. In February, it increased to 1,000. So let's assume there was a major movie. There was a new movie that came out. Everybody were interested in watching the movie. There was a particular actor and so on and so forth. Perhaps that was the reason why we had that increase. Now we had a drop between February and March from 1,000 to 700. Again, why do we have that drop? If I know what I did between January and February to give me 100% increase from 500 to 1,000, I can implement similar strategies in subsequent months to keep on increasing the number of customers. And if I know what led to the decline from 1,000 to 700 customers, I also know what to do to stop those things that have made us drop and implement the things that have made us grow. So every business wants to know what happened and why did it happen? And that's descriptive and diagnostic. And that is where the data analysts would do their best jobs. They answer these two questions, the data analysts and the data scientists. But what makes the data scientists different from the data analyst is that they take it a step further. They don't just stop at diagnostic. So while the data analyst would stop at diagnostic analytics, the data scientist would do number 3, which is called what? Predictive analytics. And what is predictive analytics? Predictive analytics is simply looking into the future. What will happen in the future? I know what has happened. I know why it happened. I want to know what will happen. All right? So that's predictive analytics. And for you to predict and see into the future, you need statistical understanding, statistical modeling, machine learning. And this is where the data scientist is different from the data analyst. So the data scientist would do number 3 to predict the future. So we've seen that, from January to May, this is what has happened. The data scientist can then look at that historical data and build a machine learning model using a machine learning algorithm like the linear regression, the different other algorithms, the lasso regression, and so on and so forth, to see into the future what will happen, support vector machines, and so on. So in the month of June, the data scientist can predict, based on what has happened in the past, this is what is likely going to happen in the month of June. We're going to get back to 1,200 customers by implementing different, forecasting techniques and predictive analytics techniques. And that is where the data scientist is different from the data analyst. Okay, so I'm just going to, so remember, the business analyst focuses on what? Processes. The data analyst focuses on what? Data, and does descriptive and diagnostic. The data scientist does descriptive, diagnostic, and predictive, while the data engineer simply makes the data available. And for you to have the skills to do either of the 3, you need to have some fantastic set of skills as a data analyst, as a data scientist, and as a data engineer. As a data analyst, your journey would start from problem solving. You need to know how to approach a problem. You need to know what type of problem you need to solve. Am I solving the symptom, or am I solving the actual problem? You need to be able to carry out root cause analysis using techniques like the 5 whys. You need to know how to use the McKinsey-Mason model to break problems into multiple parts, and so on and so forth. You need to know how to ask the right type of questions. So you know if you have the data to solve that problem. If you don't have the data, how can you get the data, gather the data, and so on and so forth? That's from problem solving. Then you move into Excel, which is one of the most versatile data analytic tools you would ever learn. All right, you move into SQL, structured query language. So when the data engineer makes the data available in a data warehouse, how do you access that data? That's where structured query language comes in. This is where you interact with the database to extract your data, analyze the data in the database, and so on and so forth. You'd learn Power BI and Tableau for your data visualization and helping you visualize your data, automate the process of visualizing, and so on and so forth. You'd learn data storytelling. Once you've done your analysis, how do you tell the story to the people that will take the decisions? Because guess what? As a data analyst, you're not taking the decisions. you're analyzing the data. You're going to recommend that data to recommend, solutions to your line manager, your director, the owners of the companies for them to take a decision. How do you communicate your findings in a compelling manner that would enable them to take that decision? That's where data storytelling comes in. You'd learn AI for analytics using ChatGPT and Microsoft Fabric for analytics, which is a new platform from Microsoft that enables you to do so much more in a single environment. You can write your SQL queries in Microsoft Fabric. You can build your Power BI dashboard in Microsoft Fabric in an all-in-one platform. And organizations today are looking for people who have the skills in Fabric because they are implementing Fabric within their organizations. All right. So these are the skills you need to transition to become a data analyst. How long does it take for you to learn the skills? 4 months, 3 months in class and 1 month internship. I'll show you what the classroom looks like, how you learn, how you get to, learn in class, working on projects, building a portfolio, just like the scenario I gave, Biola transitioning from customer service to a data analyst role. How do you learn with us at 10 Analytics? I'll walk you through that. You don't need any experience. You don't need to have done anything data related. All you need to know is know how to operate a computer, come to class, and we'll show you how to transition into becoming a data analyst. Like I mentioned earlier, my own first degree, I studied industrial chemistry as an undergrad, no experience, and I was able to transition as well. And these are the things we put in place to ensure that as you are learning, transitioning from your current career path, you're also able to leverage your experience, and your past experience remains relevant when transitioning. Okay, your live classes are on Saturdays. That's when you have your live class. And it's also structured depending on where you're joining from. If you're from the UK, Africa, you join 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're in Canada, in the US, you have a class for your zone, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you're in the UK, you're in Nigeria, you simply have a class for the morning and the evening. And it's up to you to decide if you want to join the morning class or join the class for those in the US, which would be, begin in the evening, your own time. All right. On Sundays, you have something we call the self-paced watch me do it videos. You don't join a live class on Sundays. So it's a blended learning approach. You join live class on Saturdays, and on Sundays, you learn by watching your videos on the LMS. So you get onboarded to a learning management system where you watch your videos. You see me, you see Efemena, the co-founder, where we show you how to do things within the data analytics ecosystem or any of the career path you've joined. Okay, and on Saturday, you come into a live class with a live trainer where we show you how to work on projects. We work on projects together, and from there, you are able to solve, you're able to ask questions, you're able to add those projects to your portfolio. Okay, so anybody ever ask you, what does it take to become a data analyst? Take a screenshot and show them. Now, for the data scientists, remember, you are taking it a step further and you're able to predict. You are able to predict. I'm going to ask this question to see the people that are following me. Okay, the first thing you learn as a data scientist is what? Statistics. Because statistics is the foundation of machine learning, is the foundation of predictive analytics. For you to see into the future, you must understand statistics. And you learn statistics in a way that you never imagined that you could apply those concepts in the real world. I learned statistics in high school and even in university. However, I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing, just like so many of you. We do so many calculations, but we don't know what we are doing, why we are doing what we are doing. So you learn in class in a project-based environment where you are learning these things to help solve problems for organizations. And that's the best way for you to learn an experiential learning approach. You learn Excel for predictive analytics and forecasting. You learn Tableau for data analytics, and of course, structured query language, SQL, to help interact with databases. before you move into Python. Python is what would then help you with your machine learning and your predictive analytics majorly. So you learn Python programming for exploratory data analysis, machine learning, computer vision, and of course, you learn version control with GitHub, AI for data science using ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. And you'd also learn Microsoft Fabric for data science. And embedded in your Microsoft Fabrics class is where you'd also learn Power BI, because Power BI is a part of Microsoft Fabric, okay? What's the learning timeline? Similar to the data analytics, 4 months, 3 months in class, 1 month internship. The timeline is also similar depending on where you're joining from. You're joining from the UK, 11 to 2, joining from Canada or the US, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sundays is when you have your Watch Me Do It self-paced class. You don't have to be in class. You can watch your videos at your convenience. For some people, they break the videos into, they watch on Sunday, they watch on Monday, they watch some on Tuesday. As long as you complete your Watch Me Do It before your next live class the following Saturday. And of course, the data engineer, the data provider, the person that ensures the data analyst and the data scientist can do their jobs. You start by understanding what data engineering is all about, okay? Then your SQL, structured query language, and Python programming would be your bread and butter. These are the two technologies you would use to build your ETL pipelines. What is ETL? I've been saying this a lot. E is for extract, T is for transform, and L is for load. Okay, so when the data is extracted from that system, be it a POS, a web application, an ATM machine, whatever the case is, the data is extracted, has to be extracted, first of all. Now, the data would likely not be in the shape for analysis. So the data needs to be what? Transformed. If the data is dirty, it needs to be cleaned. If the data has, is not in the right format, maybe it is horizontal, needs to be vertical for it to be in the data warehouse. The transformation process is getting the data in the right shape before the data is finally loaded into the data warehouse. So you're going to build these ETL pipelines as a data engineer using Python and SQL. You learn Linux for your bash scripting. You'd learn how to get data from different data sources using your ETL pipelines, using from databases, from APIs, from websites, using different web scraping, techniques. You'd learn Apache Spark and Apache Airflow for your data pipeline automation, your orchestration and scheduling to ensure that your entire process of extracting your data to loading the data in the data warehouse is what? Automated. You learn AWS cloud engineering. You would also work on projects with GCP and Microsoft Azure. So these are the 3 major cloud platforms. The focus would be on AWS, but you'd also work on projects on GCP and Azure. So you have an understanding of how the 3 major cloud platforms, are and how you can use them as a data engineer. You'd learn version control using GitHub, and of course, AI for data engineering using ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. How long does it take for you to get into the data engineering ecosystem and learn the things you need to learn? 5 months. You'd learn in class for 3 months, and then you'd intern for 2 months. Your internship is based on end-to-end projects where you work together with a data scientist working on a problem where you would be bringing the data, extracting the data, and putting that data in a cloud-based data warehouse. And the data scientist would take that data and use to generate a predictive model for an organization. All right. Your classes are on Saturdays. You have your live classes on Saturdays from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. West African time. If you're in the UK, you are in Nigeria, you are somewhere in West Africa, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And if you're in Canada, you're in the US, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, also tailored to your respective time zones. And on Sundays, you have your Watch Me Do It self-paced class. So you don't have to come to a class on Saturday. On Sundays, I beg your pardon. On Sundays, you get to watch your videos and you learn by watching and doing. Watch me do it. And then on Saturday, you come to class to work on projects. All right. Now let's talk about the next two, which is the HR analyst and the financial analyst. Make no mistake, the financial analyst is simply a data analyst. Remember this, okay? Is a data analyst who focuses on what? Financial data. Okay, so the focus for the financial analyst, right? Data analyst, because you're going to learn the data analytics tools and skills, but your focus is on what? Financial data. So you are analyzing financial records to identify areas for cost optimization for that company. You are helping to do what? Look at profitability, within the organization. What's the net profit margin, looking at the return on equity and other profitability metrics that would evaluate the overall financial health of that organization. All right. You'd also learn different other things, scenario, sensitivity analysis, to help advise the company when a regulation is changed. How does that impact our industry? How does it impact this particular organization? So you're a data analyst using the analytic tools to analyze what? Financial data, simply put. So you're going to learn problem solving, Excel, Power BI, and SQL, just like the data analyst. And then you learn accounting fundamentals. You learn financial analysis, analyzing different financial records to understand the performance of the business, look at profitability, and so on and so forth. You'd learn financial modeling, how to build financial models, base case, best case, worst case scenarios, and so on and so forth. You'd learn valuation, which is a part of corporate finance. You'd learn sensitivity and scenario analysis. So a new regulation was released, or different economic, factors are into play. How does these factors affect the organization? How does it impact the company's financials? And these are the things you'll be doing to advise the company. And of course, AI for analytics, which is using ChatGPT. And these are the things you do as a financial analyst. What's the timeline? Just like the data analytics, for 4 months, 3 months in class, 1 month internship. And the timeline is the same, just like the data analytics. You have a class for those in the UK and Nigeria, for those in Canada and the US with similar time zones. Now, for the HR analyst, just like the financial analyst, you are also a data analyst, and your focus is on what? People data. The data analyst would work on different types of data: customer data, sales data, and so on and so forth, research data. You, as a HR analyst, focuses on what? People data, HR data. So you are looking at things like, what are the factors that can predict employee attrition or employee turnover? Why are people leaving? So you are gathering data from all the exit interviews you've carried out over the last 2 years, over the last 1 year, and you're analyzing that data using your Power BI to identify the factors that have led to employees leaving. So you can identify those factors. You can then start having things like stay interviews in your organization instead of exit interviews. So addressing those issues that have led to employees leaving. Okay, you want to know what parts of your training budgets drive business results. What specific training do you send employees to that when they come back, there's a significant improvement in the work that they do? And this is what the HR analysts look out for. They look out for what? Policies and strategies they can implement from a data-driven perspective. So you're a data analyst and your focus is on people data. Okay, so you're going to have the data analytics skills, problem solving, Excel, Power BI, and SQL. Then you start learning the HR analytics related areas, HR analytics and performance evaluation, HR metrics and life cycle, looking at the different metrics that would measure performance within the organization. Things like absenteeism, how does it impact productivity? Things like employee demographic analysis, looking at attrition analysis, and so on and so forth. Talent sourcing analysis. Where do we get our best employees? And so on and so forth. Okay, you'd learn how to create dashboards and analyze HR-related data. You'd learn how to automate your reports and collaborate using Power BI. You'd learn how to build your case and create action. And of course, AI for analytics using ChatGPT. The timeline, similar to the financial, the data analytics, 4 months, 3 months in class, 1 month internship. All right, I can see so many questions in the chat. Please be rest assured that I would answer all your questions, okay? The classes are similar in terms of the timeline. Saturdays, you have your live class. Sundays, you have your Watch Me Do It self-paced class. Now, going to the final, okay, the last 2 programs, you have the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master role, this is where you are the custodian, you implement the Scrum rules and the Scrum principles. Organizations within the tech ecosystem always want to deliver on projects using the Agile methodology, the Agile framework. I always like to use this analogy. Agile would always thrive when it comes to tech-related products than waterfall. So when you look at the project management ecosystem, you have 2 major methodologies. You have the waterfall, okay, and then you have the agile. Now, imagine you're cooking jollof rice. Let's use this as an example. And waterfall would say that while cooking this jollof rice, you know how to cook the jollof rice. You know what the resources entails. You know what you need to buy. You need to get your jollof rice. You need to get your rice. You need to get your tomatoes, your onions, all the other condiments. Put them in the right proportion. Cook the jollof rice. Once it is ready, serve the jollof rice. So you know everything that you need from start to finish. You're going to cook that jollof rice from the beginning till the end, and then you serve to your guests. Some of them would like, some would not like it. Okay? Agile, on the other hand, you don't know what you need to do. And that is why Agile is called the adaptive methodology. Adaptive. Waterfall is predictive. You can predict everything that you need to cook that jollof rice. But Agile is adaptive. Agile means that, using the same analogy, you want to cook the jollof rice. You first of all start cooking the rice. You take out of the rice, you give to your guests, tell them to taste the rice, okay? So is this the right texture? Do you want it softer? And so on and so forth. By the time you add salt, you give them again to taste. Is the salt okay? Do you want me to add more salt? And so on. So you keep on giving to the users to taste and then changing the way you are cooking that jollof rice. So you start the jollof rice without knowing exactly every single thing you are going to need. And that is why it is adaptive. Okay, so at the end of the day, you cook a jollof rice that is tailored to the guests that will eat the jollof rice. Now, I want you to type into the chat. If you cook the jollof rice, okay, using the waterfall methodology where you cook everything, you give them to taste, you give them to eat, or you use the agile where you give the taste, they give you feedback, which one do you think the guest would like? The waterfall or the agile? Type waterfall or agile. Which one do you think the guest would like? Agile, absolutely. Adekunle says agile. Daniel says agile. Brilliant. Because agile is adaptive. You get feedback and you keep on iterating until you have that product market fit. Okay, and that's where the Scrum Master comes in. The Scrum Master implements the Agile framework on projects. Okay, the Scrum Master would ensure that the team can work in a way that they're able to achieve the final project outcome, leveraging the Scrum principles and the Scrum framework. To become a Scrum Master, you need to first of all understand what Scrum is all about. You need to know the Scrum team, the Scrum artifacts, the Scrum ceremonies. You need to know who the product owner is. You need to know the role of the software developer, the role of the UI UX designer, the role of the Scrum Master, the role of other team members within the team. You need to know the Scrum artifacts, all right? Your product backlog, your sprint backlog, your burn down charts. You need to know the Scrum events and so on and so forth. So what does your sprint planning entail? Your sprint review, your daily Scrum, and so on and so forth, okay? The Nexus Scaled Scrum, where you're implementing Scrum on an enterprise level across the entire organization, across different teams. And of course, would also prepare you for the Professional Scrum Master certification exam. We prepare you for that exam. And how long does it take for you to learn the Scrum Master program? 2.5 months. 1 month learning all the principles, and another 1.5 months working on a real-world end-to-end project. So the project you're going to work on is exactly the same project the business analysts would work on. So you work on the same set of projects. You would be the Scrum Master on that project, okay? Supervising and managing the sprint review, the sprint planning, and ensuring that the Scrum principles are implemented on that particular project. Your classes, you have live classes both on Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. West African time on Sundays. And finally, we have the cybersecurity analyst professional. As a cybersecurity analyst, what's your focus? Your focus in any organization is to protect their systems, protect their networks, protect their data from both internal and external threats. And there's so many areas within the cybersecurity ecosystem, all right? From GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. So very early, you start to see where you fall into. Which particular area do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on GRC, where your focus in governance, risk, and compliance is establishing cybersecurity policies and procedures that would align with the organization goal? You implement the standards and frameworks within the cybersecurity ecosystem. You ensure that the organization adheres to the relevant laws and regulations, the GDPR, and so on and so forth, okay? Or do you want to move into threat intelligence and incident response, all right? And this is where you are simply identifying threats within the organization. So if you work in threat intelligence, for example, people like to call this penetration testing. They like to call this the ethical hacker, and so on and so forth, okay? So you are collecting data to identify emerging threats within the organization. You are testing the system to look for loopholes and areas for easy penetration. So you can come up with solutions and mitigating factors to cover those loopholes and stop anybody from penetrating the system within the organization, all right? Or you want to be in the forensic units, where your focus is on conducting thorough investigation of different cybersecurity incidents and do what? You want to determine the cause of those issues. So here, the organization has already been penetrated, but how do you identify how it was penetrated and the extent to which that breach or attack, has happened? All right, you want to, carry out your root cause analysis. You want to, carry out recovery to ensure that you're able to restore the systems and also ensure the data integrity following any incidents like that. So there are so many areas within cybersecurity itself. And you'll be learning starting with introduction to cybersecurity, the foundation of computing and networking, and then you learn the information security principles. All right. You'd learn offensive and defensive cybersecurity, cryptography, which involves encryption and decryption and so on and so forth. You'd move into cybersecurity, cyber threats and attack vectors. You'd learn how to protect different systems within the organization, from the network security to the endpoint security, web and application security, and of course, cloud security. We have different systems in the clouds today. How do you protect those systems? Incident response and forensics, and policies and compliance within organizations. And how long does it take for you to transition into cybersecurity? 4 months, 3 months in class, and 1 month internship, working on real world projects. Your classes are also Saturdays and Sundays, live classes, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. UK time on Saturdays, and Sundays, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. UK time. And this takes us from the beginning of all the first 8 of the programs we identified that are in high demand, and we wrap up with cybersecurity. Now, all of this, from where I started to where we have gotten to, it equips you with what? Your technical skills, your projects, how to build a portfolio. You have your projects in your portfolio, and so on and so forth. So you have very good indication that you have the skills to get the job done. But this now takes us to the final part of our session today, which is the E in the T+E equation. Remember, I mentioned that you can't do only with the technical. You must also have the employability skill to get the job. Without the employability skills, you would struggle to land the job. So what does employability entails? We have 3 levels. The first level is your CV review. We talked about that extensively. So if you don't have a CV, we work with you to design and build a CV that is the right format and show you how to tailor your CV. So you're not one of those people who use one CV to apply to 100 jobs. Okay, you learn how to tailor your CV to the job requirements, applying to 100 jobs with 100 CVs. How do you tailor that? And if you don't know this before, know it today. For you to get a job, you must have applied to an average of 249 jobs. Okay, so there's a study that says you must have applied to what? 249 jobs. And this takes us to the strategy we deploy at Analytics in the number of jobs you have to apply to for you to start getting that positive outcome. So everything is methodical in ensuring that you land that job eventually. So you work on your CV, we show you how to tailor your CV. If you already have the CV, we show you how to tailor the CV. You have the best CV format to use. Then your LinkedIn profile. We talked about this earlier. This is your social proof. Your LinkedIn must mirror your CV. You must have a LinkedIn profile that attracts the best organizations out there. You need to have an Upwork profile as well if you don't have one. Upwork is where you can get remote work opportunities, working as a freelancer on different assignments, different projects. If you don't have one, we show you how to build one. If you have one, we help you optimize. And you have navigating the job market. This is where you learn from us how to apply to jobs, where to apply to these jobs, how to, structure your application in a way that positions you for the best within that job market. I gave you insights into that at the beginning, okay, from how you position yourself on LinkedIn to how you tailor your CV and all of that. But where do you apply to these jobs? How do you apply? For example, in the UK, in the last few months, you've had so many changes from the Home Office, from carers not able to bring in, their dependents anymore, to students in university not able to also bring in their dependents, except you are studying at a higher level or a specific type of degree, and so on and so forth. And you have these changes. You have the shortage occupation list scrapped, and you have the immigration salary list implemented. But how do you leverage opportunities to find those organizations that would still sponsor you, even though the sponsorship is not part of the job requirements. How do you find these jobs? How do you find the organizations that have the license? And how do you apply to these organizations and get positive outcome? We teach all of that in navigating the job market every week. Okay, you have interview preparation. So you have an interview. How do you prepare? I dare say this is one of the most important aspects of the job application process, because now you've done all the things, the right things, you've gotten opportunities. How do you answer questions during interviews? And people don't know that competency-based questions carries the highest marks. Competency-based questions. So when you're asked a question like, tell me about a time you have used, let's say, Python to build a machine learning model, and how did you select your machine learning algorithm? Or tell me about a time as a business analyst where you have optimized a process and you worked with a difficult stakeholder. How did you manage that stakeholder? So these are competency-based questions to test two things: your skills and your experience. You can't read it in the book. You have to do it. If you haven't done it before, you can't answer the question. And even if you've done it, how do you answer the question? That's the most important thing. So you answer competency-based questions using the STAR technique. S for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for results. You must structure your answer in a compelling manner to capture and captivate the audience. Okay? If you can't do these things, you can't wing it. You can't bamboozle your way into doing it. You have to practice it. You have to know how to use it. And these are the things we show you how to do during your interview preparation. And knowing how to do these things, knowing how to answer competency-based questions, knowing how to introduce yourself using the SEAT approach. S, starting with your skills. E, your experience. A, your achievements. And T, your traits or type of person. Knowing how to use these frameworks to answering questions makes the whole difference during an interview. And these are the things we show you how to do during your interview preparation. All right. So you have your recommendation and references. Once you have listed 10 Analytics as a previous employer, what they do, organizations would reach out to you to provide a reference and write the most compelling reference for you. You have your weekly mentorship sessions. Every week, you see myself, the co-founder, other industry experts helping you navigate, holding your hands to, get that career path you've always wanted to get to. And you eventually get the job and you need support. Just like a candidate, one of our participants who got a job and he found himself with a project that seemed a little bit more difficult than he had anticipated. And we worked with him and he was able to get that project done. And we help you keep that job by solving any problems you have. Also, taking data privacy into consideration so you don't get into any issues. And our promise to you is a guaranteed job interview 1 month after you've completed your training with us. So this is the E. When you look at the T plus E equation to help you get the job, you can't get the job with just the T. You can't get the job with just the E. You need the two to get a job. So once you've learned all the technical skills, you need the employability skills to solidify that job opportunity for you. Okay? And like I said, for a lot of people, it's always impossible until it's done. And these are more testimonials. I'm not going to bore you with them. Michael got a job after completing our data engineering. Biola was an accountant. He learned data analytics. He got a job as a financial analyst. You've seen Muhyiddin already. You have Olugbemi, who was a banker in Nigeria, moved to Canada, got a job as a business data analyst, and today also works as a solutions analyst with one of the largest insurance companies here in Canada. Our next cohort starts on the 6th of July. 2024. And like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a unique opportunity for you to be a part of the upcoming cohorts. And we have a discount running for those who want to get into any of the career path. Okay, we have a whopping 20% discount for anybody who would want to get into any of the programs. So the first 20 people is not open to everybody. The first 20 data analysts, business analysts, data scientists, data engineers, cybersecurity analysts, HR analysts, financial analysts, Scrum masters, the first 20 would get the 20% discount. How do you become a part of this? Now, depending on how we are paying, if you're paying in dollars, instead of paying $750, which is the original amount, you get to pay only $600. And once you take advantage of the discounts, you can also break your payments in 2 installments. The first installment of $400 to get into the program, and the balance of $200 a month after the program commences. The next cohort starts on the 6th of July. For you to get started, for you to start your journey with us on the 6th of July, if you're paid in dollars, you have to complete your $400 initial payment. You receive a welcome kit from us. The welcome kit contains all the tools and applications that you need. So you join data science, for example, how to install Excel, how to install Tableau, your SQL, Anaconda for your Python and the rest. You get a welcome kit on how to do all of that. And then a month after, you get to pay the balance of $200. If you're paying in pounds, instead of paying £625, you get to pay only $500. £350 to get into the class, to get your journey started, and then £150 a month after the program has commenced. If you're paying in euros, instead of 730, you get to pay just 580, 400 to start, and 180 1 month after. If you're paying in Canadian dollars, instead of 1,125 Canadian dollars, you get to pay just 900 Canadian, 600 to start, and 300 a month after the program must have commenced. And if you're paying in Naira, 900,000, instead of paying 900, you get to pay just 720,000 Naira, 500,000 Naira to start, and 220,000 a month after the program commences. And finally, for the Scrum Masters, you also get the discount as well. Instead of paying 450, you get to pay 360, but it's a one-time payment for the Scrum Master program. If you're paying in pounds, instead of £375, you get to pay just 300. Instead of 440 euros, you get to pay just 350. Instead of 675 Canadian dollars, you get to pay just 540. And instead of 540,000 Naira, you get to pay just 450,000, a whopping 20% discount. And our advice, anybody who has ever wanted to start their journey in tech, you've always wanted to become a data analyst, a data scientist, a business analyst, this is the best place for you to be. All you have to do is scan the QR code to be a part of the first 20, to be a part of the discounts to get started. Or you can simply click on the link. I'm going to walk you through how to do that before we take questions. Come in here, click on this link, which my colleagues would share in the chat. You click on this link and it takes you into the 10 Analytics Enrollment Center. Okay, so I need to be sure you can see what I'm saying. Yes, so it takes you to the 10 Analytics Enrollment Center. All you have to do, you can make payments using different methods. You can do a direct transfer or you can pay with your card. If you're doing a direct transfer, you can pay, if you're paying in Canadian dollars, you can pay using Interac, okay, to finance@10analytics.org. And that's the Interac email for those paying in Canadian dollars. If you're paying in pounds, you have the pound account details. If you're paying in Naira, you have the Naira account details as well. Okay, you can make payments using any of the options. You're not limited to any option. Okay, now, if you want to pay with your card, your credit or debit card, you can also do that. All you have to do, come in here, select the program you'd like to join. Let's take, for example, I want to join the full stack data science program or cybersecurity. I click on cybersecurity and it takes me to the cybersecurity page. Okay, I'm just going to wait for it to load. So it takes me to the cybersecurity page, and then I can make my initial payments. And then I can make my initial payments. Okay, so of course, it's showing me the full amount as £500. Okay, but I know that for me to get started, I can make the initial payment of £350. So all I need to do is come here, type in 350, which is my initial payment, and I click on what? Reserve a seat. Okay, I click on reserve a seat. So this will take me to where I enter my full name. Okay, I enter my full name, Adeza Suleiman. All right, I enter my email. Okay, adeza@10analytics.io. Okay, I enter my phone number, and then you click on what? Pay with card. Okay, the moment you click on pay with card, you then have to enter your card details. Once you make payments, you'd receive an automated receipt into the email you've provided. All right, and together with that receipt to confirm your payments, you'd also receive a link for you to go ahead and fill to complete your registration. Okay, and I'll show you what that link looks like very quickly. Now, if you've made payments using your card, you get this link automatically to your email. If you've done a direct transfer, make sure you take a screenshot as proof of payment. Come in here to click on what? Upload your receipts from the same enrollment center, okay, where you either paid with your card or you paid using direct transfer, using any of the account details. All right, you come in here, click on upload your receipts. Remember, I said if you pay with your card, you get this automatically to your email. But if you haven't paid with your card, you want to come back to the enrollment center, click on upload your receipts, and it brings you to this form. Fill the form, entering all your details, okay? Enter all these details, and you just keep on clicking on next. What type of payment did you make, initial or full payment? I made an initial first payment. Click on next. Click on next to receive your welcome kit. Okay, you enter your first name, enter your last name, enter your registered Gmail, gender, male or female, click on next. All right. Now, I'm walking you through this. If you want to reach out to us while filling the form, you read the terms and conditions and all of that, you can reach out to us via email at enquiries@10analytics.io. You can speak to any of our customer success associates, Shei, Lydia, Aima, or you can send us a WhatsApp message to this number and somebody will respond to you. Click on next. For those of you that have not made a decision, oh, should I do data analytics? Should I do data science? And you want to speak to me, you want to speak to the co-founder, you want somebody to help you make a decision. I'll show you what you need to do, all right? You select the date you made payments, you upload the screenshots. Remember, you've done a direct transfer, you've taken the screenshots, you upload the screenshots of your payments, all right? What was your mode of payment? You did a direct transfer to Naira, or you did a direct transfer to Interact. You used Interact to make payments. Click on next. Okay. What name did you use for the accounts you used to make payment? Because some people, your brother can pay for you, your sister can pay for you. So the name on the account, you want to list that there. Okay. Click on next. Now, this is where you select the program you want to join. So you've paid for cybersecurity or for Scrum or data analytics, but you want to speak with me in a one-on-one session. We hold this every Tuesdays where we have one-on-one sessions to help you where you can, we don't have 100+ people on the call. We can ask questions a lot more directly to me and to other professionals in-house as well to help you make a decision. You select, I need to speak with a professional. Okay. Now, my advice for you is the best thing so that you don't miss out on the discounts is secure your slots, secure the discounts, make your first deposit. And if you're not sure of the program, you want to get confirmation, select I need to speak with a professional and would schedule you for the one-on-one session on Tuesday. We have one in the afternoon and another one in the evening. So you have the opportunity to choose the time that fits you a lot better, okay? So you keep on clicking on next until you complete the form. Finally, before I take your questions, some of you might not want to start in July. The next cohort starts on the 6th of July, okay? That's next week, Saturday. I beg your pardon, 2 weeks, the next 2 Saturdays, the 6th of July, okay? Now, some of you have commitments in July. You want to start in August. Can I secure my discount today and start in August? So by August, when the discount is off, you would have secured the discounts today. Yes, you can do that. And when filling the form, all you have to do is select when you want to start. You can start 6th of July, 3rd of August, 7th of September, or 5th of October. Okay, so depending on when you want to start, you can select the cohort from here. The beauty is you'd have secured your discounts. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause. And of course, all the other details are pretty straightforward. They are intuitive, your phone number, WhatsApp number, country of residence, and so on and so forth. Okay, submit the form, we get your details, and we send you your welcome kits. I'm going to take questions before we call it a day. And remember, I want to show you something else before we wrap up today, which is the platform, how you learn with us. I'll walk you through the watch me do it. I'll walk you through your live sessions. How does it look like when you join us to learn with us? Charles is asking, how can I reserve a spot and make payments later? You can't reserve a spot without making payments. You reserve a spot by making payments. Okay, the first payment secures your slots. You can make payments in any currency. If you click on the link, it takes your location into consideration and will show you the currency based on your location. Okay, let me see if I can take more questions from the chats. How do you take crypto? I'm not sure what that means. We don't offer anything crypto here. Okay, I can see quite a number of questions, but I think my colleagues have answered the questions in the chats already. For those in the UK, can we pay paying 720K? Absolutely, you can, Maureen. You can, like I mentioned earlier, you can make payments using your preferred payment option. Okay, you can make payments using your preferred payments option. Do we have anyone? We have people from across the globe, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman. We've had people join from Jamaica, from Poland, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, before I'm going to bring up Charles. Charles wants to ask a question. But before I bring up Charles, I'm going to walk you through the next 5 minutes, walk you through the classroom. Okay. So when you join us, you get onboarded into 2 platforms. The first platform is for your learning management system, is the learning management system where you get to watch your videos on Sundays at your convenience. All right, so I'm going to go to the Tenalytics website. Okay, and this is what the platform looks like. You go to your dashboard and you'd see the program you've paid for. Okay, so the program you've paid for will be on your dashboard. Welcome back, Adeza. So if Charles has joined, for example, you'd see welcome back, Charles. You'd see the specific program you have paid for. You'd see it right here. Okay, now let's assume I've paid for the data science program. Okay, the full stack data science program or data analytics, as the case might be. I'll click on data science continue learning, and it will take me to my classroom where I can watch my videos every Sunday and I can practice. Okay, so you'd see your week 1 all the way from week 1 to the final week where you have extras for Python, NLP, and so on, and you have your week 15 for your data science program. So when you go to week 1, you have all your Watch Me Do It videos. If I come in here and I click introduction, you have the welcome address by Femena, the co-founder. You get to watch the welcome address into the program, and so on. So you listen to, all right, so that's Femena, the co-founder, who's going to lead you on your journey into data science. Okay, you have the learning structure and the roadmap, what you should expect, how you're going to learn, your roadmap to learning, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have all of that. That's Femena explaining everything to you. But now let's go to your introduction to Excel. Okay, so you have introduction to Excel, and this is where you watch your videos every Sundays. You get to practice, you get to apply all the things you've learned. You learn watching your videos at your own convenience. So this is the first platform called the 10Analytics LMS, and it's for your Watch Me Do It. Your Sunday classes where you don't have a live class. Now, your live classes are hosted on this platform, and I'm going to walk you through. Let's take, for example, the full stack data science program. So you've joined the data science program. Now, on Saturday, you get to join your live classes. So everything live is on this platform. Everything on Sundays where you have to watch on your own is on this platform. Now, let's see what the live, platform looks like. This is where you have your extra resources, your employability, okay? Your 90 days consistency challenge, where you're posting every day for 90 days on your LinkedIn to show your track record of all the new things you are learning every single day, okay? So you want to request for a reference, you send an email to hr@analytics.io, you request for a reference. We have a job application tracker that tracks the job you are applying to, so that the moment you apply to 15 jobs and you don't get an interview, we also track what you are doing and we can tailor your strategy. We revamp your strategy to help you get positive results. How to upload your projects on GitHub. You have your CV templates, okay? So you have a template that is fit for the data scientist or the program you decided to join, okay? Your interview preparation, you have an interview. All you have to do is come in here, click on the link, and you have access to 3 resource persons to book your interview. So I want to book my interview with Precious, for example. I come in here and I click on this link and it takes me into a Calendly link. So the Calendly link is where you don't need to speak with anybody. Just come in here, look for the time that is available. There's a time available on Tuesday, for example, to prepare for interview. Click on that, select your preferred timing, click on next, enter your name, enter your email, and share the details of that job and schedule your event. Somebody would work with you to prepare you for your interview, okay? Now, let's go to the live classes, and this is where everything becomes amazing. We go to the very first class when you start your journey into data science, okay? So your very first class is your introductory class. And this is where I say that the program is built with the beginner in mind. You don't need to have any experience in data science to start this class. So you have your introductory live class, you have your class materials in case you miss anything. So let's assume on a Saturday you are busy, you can't join this class. The class recording is right here. All you have to do is come in here, click on the class recording, you have access to the class itself, okay? So you see everything that happened in class. You can watch the videos at your own convenience, see everything that was done, the questions that were asked, and so on and so forth, okay? So this is what a typical live class would look like. And you don't miss anything eventually. Now, let's go back to the classroom. So you have your class materials. If you've worked on a case study, you worked on it, you see the slide as well. You have everything right here. You have your watch me do it for Excel. Okay, you have your week 1 Excel, and then you have your drop-in session. What's the drop-in session all about? For some of you, you're going to face challenges when you start. There's no doubt about it because you are new into the space. But what we've also done is to create a layer of support systems, multiple layers of support systems. And the drop-in session is one of them. So this is your makeup class. This is that class where you're working on a project, you are working on assignments, and you have issues. You want to show somebody the problems you have, and for them to look at it and guide you on what to do. You join the drop-in session, which happens every week. Okay, you join the drop-in, you can ask your questions, interact with your trainer, your data coach, your coordinators, and so on and so forth. You have your mentorship sessions every week. You can see I talked about the sit and star approach. You also get to learn the sit and star approach as one of the things you do. And again, if you miss it, the recording is there. You can watch the recording at any point in time. Your data cleaning live class on Excel. Let me show you what I mean by project-based learning. When we say project-based learning, what does it mean? If I go to the class material and click on Excel, it takes me to the Excel live class, okay? I can see the slide and I see why data cleaning, the process in data cleaning, and then you see your what? Your case study. This case study is for a company called Vector Incorporated. And what would you do for this company? You're a junior data professional at Vector Incorporated. You are required by your team lead to deploy data cleaning techniques in handling inconsistencies in the client's project data. You are also required to provide a report on their respective inquiries. So they've asked some questions which are going to look at and use the skills you've learned in Excel to answer those questions, okay? And this is where you don't just learn Excel, but you learn how to use Excel to solve problems, okay? And this is what a typical live class would look like, okay? Your mentorship, interview simulation, your dashboarding live class in Excel. If you go to the case study as well, is a case study project-based class where you are working for an organization to help them solve problems, building a dashboard that looks like this, working, and the company is what? Adidas, okay? So you're working for Adidas in the US, and you're helping them solve a sales problem that they currently have. And this is a real life case study. The difference is it was not for Adidas, but we've changed the name of the company. So you can't identify any part of the project to a specific organization due to data privacy issues, okay? So these are the type of projects you work on that gives you the knowledge and gives you the experience that you add to your portfolio. I'm going to take a pause from the classroom. I'll come back to take questions and then we wrap up in the next 10 minutes. Felix says, absolutely fantastic. Others, they talk 12 months. No, you have lifetime access to the case, to the LMS is lifetime access. You can always come back to work and watch your videos, your classroom, your live classes. You have access to download your live classes and watch over and over again, see what was done in class and so on. Okay, let me see if I have more questions. Who do I contact to make this payment? Okay, I think that question has been answered. You don't need to contact anybody to make payments. All you need to do is click on the link. Once you've made payments, all you have to do is click on that link that says upload your receipts. Once you have that sorted out, you'd also get the link. If you pay using your card, you get the link in your email. Fill it, complete the form, and you receive a welcome kit and get onboarded into the two platforms, the LMS and also the live classes. The only way you can pay in 3 installments at Dedoyi is if you'll be starting in August and not July, because the 6th of July is very close. Your first installment would have to be made before the class starts, and the second installment a month after the class must have commenced. Okay, but what I'll advise you to do at Dedoyi is send an email to Nene at Tenalytics. Okay, so Nene is the head of finance and should help you. If there's anything she can do, send an email to Nene and she'll work with you to help structure something for you. Okay, let me take more questions. I think somebody had his hand up. Charles, I've asked you to unmute yourself. Please go ahead. Let's hear from you, Charles. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Charles. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in London.
London, fantastic. So
Yes.
Go ahead, Charles. Let's hear from you.
Okay. I have a few questions. First of all, I would like to appreciate you for the detailed teaching and for the fact that this was done completely free. I've seen people take huge amounts of money to do what you did now for free. So it's a kudos on your part. Thank you for that. The 8, I've also interacted with the West platform, and because I've been looking to transition into tech for a while, so I came across what you also came across, but I didn't know what.
Charles, I'm struggling to hear you clearly.
Sorry,
okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, your audio is not very clear. I can hear you, but I'm struggling to hear some words, to string your sentence together. Okay, so maybe you want to speak a little bit louder. I don't know, maybe that would help.
Okay, is it better now?
It's a lot better. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I was saying I've interacted with the West platform and I came across what the information you posted, but I didn't know what decision to make. So my first question is regarding the data scientists. One of the distinguishing factors between data scientist and data analyst is the Python program,
yes,
as I can see. Now, given all you have to unpack within 4 months, is that enough time to learn the basic fundamentals of Python as a data scientist?
Okay.
That's one question.
Okay.
Secondly, there is this myth about tech that for you to transition into tech, you must learn coding, which I found out it's not really true. So I want to ask in relation to the data scientist, do you need to learn how to code?
Okay.
Regarding data scientists? Because some of the things we have to learn, the machine learning, with the Python as well, I'm thinking it's tilting towards that angle. And people tend to run away from tech when coding is involved. And someone has already asked the third question, which is, can you pay in 3 installments?
Okay.
And I think you've answered that already. That means you have to start in August. However, I'm looking to start in July. So that's fine. So those are my 2 basic questions.
All right, fantastic. Brilliant questions, Charles. Let's start with the last question, the third question, 3 installments, okay? Now, the 3 installments is not made open to everybody, all right? If you want to start in July and you are considering making payments in 3 installments, what I advise you to do, we can't have that conversation over the call, okay? You'd send an email to, I'm going to type the email into the chat. So let me just write it on my screen so everybody can see what I'm writing. Okay, so just send an email to Nene, Nene, at tenalytics.io. Okay, Nene at tenalytics.io, and make your proposition, your proposal. This is what I want. I want to structure my payment this way. And if it fits what we want or what suits both parties, would make that available to you. All right. Now, the myth around tech, not all tech programs are, requires coding. For example, as a data analyst, the closest thing you'd learn to coding is SQL, which you would not call that coding because it's very simple for you to learn, and it's you learning a language to interact with databases. As a business analyst, there is zero coding. As a financial analyst, zero coding. HR analyst, zero coding. Scrum master, zero coding. Okay, so their career path that does not require any level of coding for you to thrive. However, as a data scientist, you're going to learn Python. Okay, and Python in itself is a programming language, so that's coding. That's, I would say, coding through and through. So you learn how to code using Python. But again, diving into your first question, which is another misconception a lot of people have, which is, can I learn all of this within the space of 4 months? And it seems like it cannot be done. That's why if you look at how I started the journey, I started with a quote that says, it always seems impossible until it is done. And this is the methodology. It's very simple. Most of us are used to learning. We go to the university for 4 years. We learn all those things that we never get to use, or we never even get to understand. We do another master's for another 1 year, which is heavily academic. We come out, we write a thesis, and that's the end of it. We really never get anything useful. So we are used to learning for so long and getting very little for what we have learned. The methodology is very simple. You're not learning by watching presentations or learning by reading theoretical concepts. You are learning by doing. It's practical based. You are learning Excel to solve problems, okay? And you're not learning the entire Excel from A to Z because it's irrelevant to you. As a data scientist, what concerns you in Excel? Predictive analytics. How can I, build a linear regression model in Excel? How can I use forecasting techniques like exponential smoothing, the moving average, and so the naive approach to forecasting? These are my concerns with the use of Excel. I don't need to learn everything. I don't need to know what the financial analyst would use Excel to do because it's none of my business as a data scientist. So you learn the areas that are relevant to your career path. Same with Tableau, same with SQL, same with Python, and so on. Python can be used for so many things. You can use Python to build a website. You can use Python to build automation engines and so on and so forth. But you would learn how to use Python to wrangle data, exploratory data analysis, to explore data, to build machine learning models. And you can do this in less than 4 months. You don't even need 4 months to do them, in less than 4 months. And what brings this home and makes the skills, stick is the fact that you work on projects. So you see the Adidas case study I shared. It's a real life case study that the co-founder of 10Analytics worked in an organization on that same type of problem. Now you will be working on that same problem. The difference is that the name of the company has been changed. So the same thing a real data scientist worked on in the real world for a real company on a real problem, you are working on that same thing. And that's how the skills get to stick. So everybody you see on our slide, they didn't have any experience. From Ini, who completed our data science program, got a job, to Nathaniel, who got a job as well as a business analyst, to Efe, who got a job as a business analyst, to Kende, who got a job as an R&D specialist, data analyst in the
Research
UK.
and development. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all the other people I've shared. You have Tosin, who got a job as a fraud analyst in the UK, completing our data analytics program, and so many others, okay? They did not. Shade got a job as a data scientist after completing the full stack data science program, and so many other professionals, so many of them. All you need to do is learn the skills relevant to the career path you're moving into, learning a skill-based environment where you're applying those skills, working on projects, and that's how the skills stick at the end of the day. So I know it's a difficult mindset to, shift from, I've learned for 4 years in university. I've done another 1 year master's. How can I learn skills within the space of 4 months? Experiential learning gets you, into that faster than you can ever imagine. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Yes, to an extent. Well, if there's one thing my master's taught me is that I learned Power BI by case study with Apple. I did the case study with part of my module had to do with Microsoft Power BI. So a lot of things you said make sense because you learn faster by experiential learning. Like, I didn't know I could learn Power BI that fast because there's a lot, the whole myth around the tech thing. So I learned, if I could learn that within a space of 3 weeks, I think, and it's a very vast, platform. So, the coding aspect, can you throw more light on that based on I think the only people that has to deal with coding going forward are the data scientists and the engineers. Well, my concern is the data scientists. So can you throw more light on the coding a part of that?
Your coding 100% is Python, okay? You're going to learn Python from start. And the way you learn Python is a language, okay? You learn Python by starting, first of all, with the data structures. And the data structure simply means, it's like you learning the alphabets, starting A, B, C to Z, okay? You learn Python that way too. You learn Python with the data structures from the rudiments and the fundamentals. And you then start to learn how to use different Python libraries to analyzing your data from pandas to Seaborn for data visualization to Matplotlib and so on and so forth. So when it comes to coding, you writing the program, you building programs, you writing something, telling the computer to do something, and it does it for you. Excel, you have to write calculations. You have to click on this. Power BI, you've used Power BI before. You want to get data, you click on get data, you select your data source. When you're writing Python codes, you don't click on buttons, you write the program itself. Okay, so you write the language and whatever IDE you are using, your development environment. Most of the time you'd use the Jupyter notebook to write your Python programs. Okay, whatever notebook you are using, you write the programs and the notebook would read and understand what you have written and get those things done for you. So as a data engineer, as a data scientist, you can't run away from Python. You have to learn Python. I'll take you to one of the classrooms to show you what Python codes would look like when you start writing Python code. So let's see if they have gotten to writing Python here. So they haven't. So let's go to a previous class, that is earlier. All right. And I'll show you. So this is April. We were in the May cohorts initially. All right. So I'll take you to the April cohorts. So NumPy and pandas. So let's go to the live class. Okay. And you'd see. So let's go to the class recording. So you'd see what the Python codes look like. All right. So just before I click on play, let me click on play anyways, so we can see this. Now, this platform you can see right here. Let me maximize. Okay, so this is Jupyter Notebook, and this is where you write your Python codes. Now, one of the first things you want to do, you won't really understand what I'm saying anyways, but I'll just explain. Now, Python works with libraries, okay? Works with different libraries. If you want to work with data using Python, you need to import pandas. So the pandas library would help you structure your data in rows and columns, just like the way it would appear in Power BI or Excel.
Excel, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to use different other calculations, mathematical operations to multiply, divide, and use different other mathematical operations, you import NumPy. Okay, you want to visualize your data, just like the way you use visuals in Power BI. But this time around, you are doing it in Python, you're going to import Seaborn. So all these libraries, before you start, you do what? Load your libraries by importing them. All right. And there's so many other things involved. You know, you can see all this, the codes the trainer is writing, np.a.shape, and so on. So these are the fundamentals, the rudiments of understanding how Python works, using pandas and so on and so forth. You're going to learn how to do all of this. You create a data frame, which is simply what your Excel looks like using, you know, NumPys to create your array, first of all, and then you use pandas to read them in a readable manner, just like you would read on Excel. So this is your Jupyter notebook. You get this by installing Anaconda. You have your Jupyter notebook and you write your Python codes in your Jupyter notebook. So yeah, this is just giving you an idea of what, so you learn how to code. You can't run away from coding. You can't run away from Python as a data scientist. The only mistake that a lot of people make when learning data science is that they start from Python, which is a very big error. And I always equate this to starting, it's like you building a house and you're starting from the roof. You build a house by building the foundation. So you need, before you start Python at all, you can see where Python started from, NumPy and pandas. Okay, you would have done your Excel, you would have done your SQL, you would have done your Tableau, you would have done your statistics. This gives you a solid foundation before you start learning Python. Because the skills you learn, surprisingly, even from Excel, it has some convergence with Python. So how is data, the format of data? How does numbers, numerical data, how do they align? How does categorical data align? You learn some of these things even from Excel before you dive into Python. So your knowledge and understanding from some of these initial areas guides you when you get into more advanced areas like Python and the rest. Does that help, Charles?
Yes, that helps. So my last question, given
Yes.
given all the various compartments of this program, is there a specification for a laptop to use for this?
Not at all. So all you need is an entry mid-range laptop, nothing on the high end. Okay. So if you have a laptop, 256 gigabyte SSD, which is, I would say, the entry range, you have an 8 gigabyte RAM, or even 4 gigabytes, preferably 8 gigabytes. Okay. Python and all of these other applications would not consume any major computing power. The only application that will consume a little bit is Power BI.
Power BI.
Yeah, Power BI. So because of Power BI, we always recommend you have at least an 8 gigabyte RAM, which is also entry level. It could be a Core i3, a Core i5, Core i7, it really doesn't matter. Okay, it could be a MacBook, it could be a Windows PC, it really doesn't matter as well. However, if you have a MacBook, installing Power BI and some other Microsoft-related applications might need additional technicalities, which we also provide in your welcome kits. So if you go all the way down to your onboarding materials, you'd see how to download and install Anaconda as one of your materials, how to download and install Postgre, download and install Tableau, download and install Microsoft Office and the rest. So they're all there. And for those that have Mac, we also have, the video guide on how to install those applications. So no, you don't need a high-level laptop. Anything entry-level, mid-range would be good to go for you.
Okay, thank you very much for I think that's all from me. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome, Charles. Thanks for those fantastic questions. All right, I'll check. I'm not sure if anybody else wants to speak, you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. I'll call you up to ask your questions, or you can just type it into the chat. How does BA help my HR profession? I'm HR by profession, certificate, job title, but I practice it less, do more of operations, and I feel BA is better for me. Moyo, what I want you to do, Moyo, is perhaps you want to join our one-on-one clarity session on Tuesday. Okay, and we can break it down a little bit further. But what I always advise is this: always leverage your area of strength. Okay, so if you're in HR, you have the HR understanding, you have the HR knowledge. Yes, you're not really putting it to the best use as you would love to. Build on that, add data to it, get into HR analytics. So on the surface, that would be my recommendation. It's like an accountant who also wants to transition. I would advise you to think about the financial analytics career path, because that's your area of strength. So it's going to make a lot of things, seamless for you. Your learning curve is going to be shorter. You'll easily understand concepts and so on and so forth. So that'll be my recommendation, Moyo, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Do you have to get the license? You don't need to get any license for the software. The applications you'll be using are free to use. You can download Power BI, you can download Microsoft Office 365, use the trial version, which will do all the things you need to do during your program. And any other thing you need to do will be provided for you in the class, during the classroom itself. Okay. So the one-on-one session would be shared with everybody who has attended and filled the attendance form. So you're going to get the recording, you're going to get the slides, and you'd also get notified for the one-on-one session. If you're also in any of the groups, the WhatsApp groups, you would also get notified to join. But my advice to you, Moyo, is by Tuesday, I can bet you that all the discounted slots are gone. So you might want to secure your discounts before you come into the one-on-one session. And once a decision is made, you know what to do, either the BA or HR, you get to still understand and you get to still take advantage of the discounts. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure we have more questions. No, we don't offer Power Platform. We don't offer Power Platform. Okay. Please, is it compulsory to be Microsoft? It is highly irrelevant. Highly irrelevant. Nobody asks for, nobody, no organization you would see out there would ask you for any Microsoft certification or, or whatnot. Okay. We have a phrase that we use at Analytics, and I'm going to share that with you. We call it competence over credentials. Okay, competence over credentials. Never think about certificates before you get the skills and experience. You get the skills, you get the experience. First of all, this is what gets you the job. So your competence comprises of what? Number one, your skills, and number two, your experience, which you build using projects. Okay, so competence over credentials. I'll tell you, surprisingly, most of you will be surprised, I don't have a half certificate, not to talk of one. I have 0 certificates, and I work for some of the biggest and best organizations across the globe. Nobody would ask you during an interview, you have a certificate. They want to see that you can do the job on day one. And I remembered I was going to talk about masters. Most of the time, masters are highly irrelevant. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And I'm telling you this from the point of I've done the same thing myself. Okay, I did a master's that was 2 years ago, big data science and technology in the University of Bradford in the UK. And it was a waste of time and a waste of my money, because every single thing that I learned were 100% academic. Okay, 100% academic. Can't apply to the real world to get work done and to solve problems for organizations. Okay, So I think I'm going to draw the curtains right at this point because I'm not sure I've seen any other questions in the chat. I would like to say, if you know anybody, you have a friend, you have a colleague who you think can benefit from this session, share the message with them. And I'm also going to leave you with this. Go to YouTube, all right? Go on YouTube, ensure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. So go on YouTube and search Tenalytics, okay? Go to search Tenalytics, go to the Tenalytics YouTube page, click on our logo, all right? And ensure that you subscribe. Now, you'll be the first to learn about so many, amazing stuff. Like Charles, for example, tomorrow we have a free session just like this one, Python for beginners. So you'd see how easy it is. All those things that looks like gibberish to you, you start to see how to use Python to do those things. Or you can simply come in here, click on videos, and look for any of the previous sessions we've held on how to use Python. And if I just scroll down a little bit, you can see one of them, getting started with Python as a data scientist and data engineer. This was 5 days ago. Or you want to watch another one. There's so many of them. Okay, so our YouTube page is, a treasure trove of amazing stuff. You also get the opportunity, if you click on playlists, you can listen to all the amazing professionals that have been a part of Tenalytics, okay? So you see the testimonial videos, click on that. It takes you to the testimonials and you can watch and listen to all the professionals that have joined us. They've completed their training and they've achieved fantastic outcomes after joining the training program. All right. Finally, share the message with a friend, share with a colleague, share with your brother, your sister, your family member that you think can benefit from this. Also follow us across LinkedIn to see the amazing work that we are doing, and follow me as well. My name is Adeza Suleiman on LinkedIn, and I'll be looking forward to connecting with all of you. All right. I'd like to say a very big thank you to everybody who has stayed from the beginning up until this moment and spending your Saturday with us. Have an amazing time, and I'll be looking forward to you joining the program. Remember, the discount is for the first 20 people. Take advantage, get your journey started. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in class on the 6th of July for those of you who will be starting. For those of you who start in September, October, I also look forward to you joining us. Cheers, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.